Hello and welcome once again to my underground lair. So today we are talking about the Battle of Vicksburg. So last time we talked about the significance of the Battle of Gettysburg. So the Battle of Gettysburg is very significant because it was General Lee's last attempt to invade the North. After his defeat at Gettysburg, his army retreated to the south, and never again would they darken northern soil, which is huge. It meant that he couldn't force the war to an early conclusion in 1863. He couldn't bring in foreign aid by proving that the South was going to succeed on ground that's not theirs, and excuse me. It also ensured that the North would gain a little bit more morale, a little bit more fighting spirit, as it were, because they finally were able to definitively defeat Robert E. Lee, which was the Confederacy's greatest general. But now, while this was going on, while Gettysburg was going on, we also have the siege at Vicksburg. So, a couple of things with that. So, one, Vicksburg is a town in Mississippi. It was kind of like the linchpin of the Mississippi River. The Union controlled the area to the north of it. The Union controlled an area to the south of it. But Vicksburg was this little bubble in the middle. The Confederacy still held it. And as long as they held it, they could get food and supplies through either which way, which was a huge deal because Louisiana produced things, farm goods, sugars they got from the Caribbean. Texas was a big beef place. They had tons of cattle ranches, so a lot of Confederate beef came from Texas. If they closed that loop, they're one step closer to completely strangling the Confederacy. So while the Gettysburg battle was going on in the east, Vicksburg was happening in the west. And General Grant had a very inventive strategy. So right here, we've got a map. Here's the town of Vicksburg. Most generals at the time would have just marched straight down and just hit the Confederates head on. But in doing that, you're walking through a bunch of ground that's not favorable to marching. It favors the defender. And also, when you're just marching head on to the enemy, they know you're coming. So he came up with a very inventive way. So he got all of his men on barges and boats, and he sailed down through these little back rivers all the way down here to Bruinsburg, Mississippi. He actually wanted to get to disembark a little farther north, but he couldn't because of artillery and other boats in the river and whatnot. So he got all the way down to Bruinsburg. As soon as his entire army was there, marched over here, pushed over these Confederate defenses, and then just marched all the way up here. Every one of these little red lines represents where the Confederates realized what was going on, but they realized too late. And every step of the way, they were defeated again, again, and again. And finally, all the Confederates were pushed back to the town of Vicksburg. Now, it wasn't over there, because if we look at this map, we can see the Confederates were dug in. All of this, wherever you see stuff like that, they have walls made out of packed earth. They've got wooden palisades, like wooden fences. All this stuff that basically turns the city of Vicksburg into a fortress, into like a medieval style fortress. And so the only thing that the Union could do, I mean, they tried several times to push, but every time they were defeated. Every time. So General Grant did not want his entire army to just be shredded on the walls of Vicksburg. So he waited 4 months for eventual victory.